All right, we're back, and we have a guest in-house. He just crashed the party. This is Ross, a local Albuquerque shooter who's making waves beyond Albuquerque now as he kind of makes a run at shooting multi-gun at a very, very high level. So, Ross, why don't you quickly introduce yourself and who you are, what you do, and all that.
So I'm Ross Haney. We've been shooting competitively for about 5-6 years now. Me and Josh started about the same time, it seems.
Yeah.
I fell in love with Multigun. I still shoot and love like USPSA and other types of action shooting, but Multigun's like my favorite. Let's see, like what else? I'm the owner of Performance Driven Tactics. So my whole goal there is to try and train people in any platform to be better at competition shooting, more proficient with the firearm, and just whatever goal they want to be. And just the more shooters I can get into the sport, I think the better for everyone, and the better they get, I think just overall, just up in competition, more fun, everything associated.
Absolutely.
I would ask, so spoiler alert, you've been performing at a very high level lately in multi-gun, both 3-gun and now recently, hot off the press, we'll talk about it, a 2-gun match.
Mm-hmm.
So when you started, were you like just crushing souls and kicking everybody's ass, or what
not even a little bit?
Yeah.
Like so.
And I asked that for the audience because I saw how bad you were.
Yeah, not even a little bit. Yeah. So I think the first match I showed up to was the Zia 3-gun, and it was like 3-gun tacticals, it was called. I had another buddy in my department we were both new members at Zia, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever seen this 3-gun tactical? Let's go shoot it." And I was like, "All right, well, what is it?" We kind of like figured it out. I think we might have messaged Jared Milanazzo was the one that ran it at that time. And like messaged him, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this stuff." And so I was like, "Hell, I had this like bull-pupped like Sega 12 gauge."
So you had all the right gear.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! And then like I had like a 45, like 1911, that would pretty much be like an open gun right now, like it's without a dot on it, and then just some as a shotgun, and then like I think I had a 308, but it was like a DPMS with like a red dot and a magnifier or something. Like
so
it was.
You might not agree with it, but this is what peak performance.
This is peak performance, yeah. And I think immediately I started like, I was like, well, I'm probably going to be horrible, but let's go have fun, and shoot. And then so I immediately just started talking shit to Jared, and who
for context is a really good 3-gun
who is
shooter.
like a phenomenal 3-gun shooter. Like
won Rocky Mountain, which is a really hard match out here
phenomenal.
in Mexico.
And so he just laughs, dude. He's like, and I was horrible, like the whole time. I just remember him telling me, he's like, "Yeah, it's shooting's fun though, and you're shooting a lot longer than us, so like you're having more fun, right? Like
it's a great framing."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it gave me like it was super fun though. Like you get to shoot in a different realm than you've ever shot. I think I watched you guys' last podcast. You talked about shooting at like an indoor range. Like I hated shooting at an indoor range just because you're shooting in the rain and just one paper target. I was like, I feel like I'm wasting time.
It gets boring pretty quick.
Yeah. And so once I found that, I was like, this is awesome. Like I want to get better at this. And like Jared was kind of my resource at the start. Like, "Hey man, what do you use? Like, what do you do?" And like people are super friendly in the sport, and like everyone's like, "Here, try my gun out. Here, check this out. This is what I wear in gear." Like everyone wants people to succeed, wants people to do it. Like there's no one's ever, I don't think I've ever seen anyone be like, "Yeah, you're new, like let them fail," like people want people to succeed. It's the best group of people on the planet. And like, I'm going to argue that multi-gunners are better,
but better people or better shooters?
I'm going to say both. We have an average like height. We're a little taller.
You're a little taller.
I'm just kidding.
Not
no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
Who's
like
the little AMU guy that won everything in 3-gun for a long time? Like, I'm blanking on his name.
Daniel Horner.
Daniel
Horner's like he was the man, like, to beat.
So your thesis is broken.
Oh, I know, it's totally broken. No, it's totally broken. The fact that, like, pretty much I don't think I've gotten any match, whether it's a big USPSA match, where it's been a 3-gun match, a 2-gun match, any one of it, like, everyone's on the same level of, like, helping. Well, heck, we went to nationals, right? I think we went with you, Tim, and then you, Josh. Mm-hmm. And I was having some problems with my limited 40. And Chase Rains, excellent shooter, great guy. We knew of each other. I, like, knew who he was, but we've never met each other. And through another buddy of ours, Tim, he was Tim Proctor. He goes, "Hey man, yeah, here, I'll just give my other limited gun to Tim, and I'll give him my limited gun, and we'll take it to nationals and shoot it some before you go and make sure everything works, and then as a backup gun or whatever." So he let me take this, like, probably $6,000+ pistol across the country. Like, I don't know any other group of people that would be like, "Oh yeah, here's my gun and stuff." Yeah. And, like, especially something that expensive, and, like, they're just the best people on the planet. Like, that is 100%. Another huge reason why I love this sport. I love competing and love being part of it.
Awesome. So you've you got pretty good over this last 2 years. How did that happen? What did you work on? Like, how did you learn to get good?
I think the number one thing that, like, to get good and that someone needs to learn is, like, how to self-diagnose. That is, like,
which exactly Tim has said on previous episodes.
Oh yeah, it's the number one thing, because if you don't know how you're, like, why did I miss that shot? Why am I losing time here? What am I doing? Taking video of yourself is crucial, not just for the gram, which is dope, but for, like, personal growth and, like, putting it next to someone else's that's really good or something, and, like, trying to figure out, how am I losing time, or how could I beat someone? Like, my aspect, the way I was looked at something was mainly like, so here's my competition, here's what they're doing, this is how they shoot, how can I beat it? What can I do that they're not doing to be faster, to be better, to be, more accurate? I'm just a constant strive for just trying to be better than I was the next day, I think, is, like, the only thing that put me on the path of, like, starting to win stuff or, like, starting to do good at things.
Yeah, I agree. I think learning to self-diagnose is the most important thing. But for me, almost paradoxically, like, I didn't learn how to self-diagnose until I took a class from a professional shooter. Yeah. So, like, taking that class kind of showed me I didn't know what I didn't know. And I wasn't even looking for certain things that are really important on the radar of getting good at practical shooting.
Oh, no, taking a class is huge.
So I wish I had done that, like, 2 or 3 years earlier. And I think I
wish I would have started out doing that.
Yeah, like, I should have just done that right away.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. Like, it would have been, imagine where we'd be, like, the difference of getting professional instruction right off the bat from, like, someone, some really high-end people. And I don't think, like, one class is the end all. Like, I don't think one, you can learn something from everyone. I think you should take multiple things. But yeah, I think I kind of did, because I have, like, a real strong background in sports. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of could, like, self-diagnose, but not to the level of, like, I had after taking class, I realized I pretty much know nothing about, like, what I was doing. It was just kind of like shooting in the dark, like, literally.
Well, I think that's for many people. Like, the first time I took a class was also the same thing. Like, I'd been going to the range 2 days a week, 3 days a week, dry firing like a madman. At the time I was dry firing like 45 minutes to an hour a day, 6 days, 7 days a week, and I thought, like, man, I'm doing the Lord's work here. I should be getting better. And unfortunately, towards the end of end of a year or 2 years, like, I'm still, like, this perpetual B-class shooter who couldn't seem to really progress. And so when I took my first, like, official class with a guy by the name of Mike Seeklander, like, the biggest aha moment I took away from that class was Mike saying, like, "Dude, what are you doing? You're not practicing right." And at first I kind of joked, but I was like, "Oh God, I'm hurt. What do you mean?" Like, man, every time I go to the range and practice, I'm shooting 500 to 600 rounds. And, and he was like, "Yeah, but what is your focus when you go and practice like that?" And I was like, well, what do you mean? I'm shooting a lot, I'm working on my draws, I'm working on my reloads, I'm working on transitions and movement, and I'm working on this and working on that. And he's like, all in one session. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, that's what's wrong. Like, you don't have like a direction that you need to like place your attention to, just focusing on a couple of things so that you're actually practicing purposefully. And yeah, that was the biggest takeaway for me. Like, after taking that class, within 6 months, I went from B class and shot right past A and made master, and then just a few short months after I made master, I made grandmaster. And that was exactly the point. It was like, I really didn't know how to practice,
So like focus training, like focusing.
Yeah, 100%. Like having a goal when you get there, like, okay, today's practice, I'm going to focus on transitions and maybe a bit of movement. But those are the only two things I'm going to focus on. I don't care about my draw. I don't care about my reloads. I don't care about any of these other things. It's just like, can I move into a position with the gun up ready to shoot? And how do I shoot these transitions through this array?
For sure. I think a lot of it too, like dry firing, like a lot of people, I think, like you talk about just, dry fire, but
you can lie to yourself.
You can 100% lie to yourself. And I have done that before, where even on the 9mm, like I was just slinging the gun up there and I was like, everything's looking good, everything's happened, but I wasn't even gripping it, I don't think. And like came out to the range, it was Alpha Delta, Alpha Mike, Alpha Charlie. I was like,
it's harder.
Oh my God.
It's really hard to diagnose that or to see that you're cheating yourself with iron sights too. Once I started messing around with a dot for the first time, I was like, hey, why's the sight going low and left every time? I wonder if that has something to do with why the second bullet is going low and left every time. This is fascinating.
This is interesting.
I'm going to open my lab notebook, record this.
I think another big thing that I learned was, so dry fire is where like I'd perfect skills or trying to like better a skill set and like movement or like how I'm reloading or all my manipulations. But then I'd kind of use live fire to test if what I'm doing in dry fire is translating, and then try to figure out if it is like, okay, cool, like keep doing that and like progress, or if it's not, then where's the breakdown? Like what is going on that dry fire is not translating to live fire? And I think that's like a huge thing. That's the self-diagnosis thing.
So how do you evaluate that? Will you set up like similar things in dry fire at your house and then do that in live fire and be like, oh, the shots are not going where I thought they were going, or like what? How does that work?
Yeah, I think if I'm trying to be honest in dry fire, like you can set up similar drills in your house. That'd be very easy to do. I don't think I straight did that, but it was more so just, like, I was calling shots and I was transitioning like this was, and like where I was thinking shots were going and how I'd grip it, and like our follow-up shots going where they should be going is my grip like right, and like am I presenting stuff right? And then maybe I'm doing drills to like enter a position, like, and then is that equating into live fire? Are the rounds like actually hitting the target like I thought they were in dry fire? I mean, you can do it in so many different ways. I think if you just pick something like Tim said there and focus on something and make it like, instead of just like, I just did all these different things in dry fire and then did all these things like, and then you have no idea where you're at. Like, but if you're focused and you're like, I'm going to focus on one or two things and I can like improve on those things. And you just pick something that's like, I feel like I might be a deficiency at, or like I could improve at, I might start there. Or like, sometimes you just got to go back to fundamentals. Like you just got to go straight back to like, is my draw and my natural point of aim, like, is that happening right? And then just work it back up from the start, from stance to grip to like side alignment, and then start, sometimes just take it all the way back. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just helps you build everything back up,
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's like different ways, I guess, you can go about that.
For sure. So, I think people still find it easy to lie to themselves in dry fire a lot. And so that's
the hardest thing to get over.
Some of the most valuable exercises for me that can like show people that are, Tim, I know you do a drill where you'll have an array or maybe even just one target set up, and you'll have people draw, shoot the array as fast as they can, and then turn around and tell you what they think the shots were. I've done a similar thing with Leo and Kenny Terry where they will take shot up targets and staple those over on the front side of like a target stick against a fresh target. So you can't, even if you're staring at it, you can't see like what you really hit. And they'll do the same thing. They'll be like,
shot calling,
call your shots. And I think sometimes people need that revelation of, oh my God, I cannot call shots at all. Because that happens to a lot of people. Like you train and you train.
Or that I wasn't, because I took that advice from you one time. Like, especially for USPSA, because 3-gun, you know, it's 1 alpha or 2 on paper. So you see a close brown target, you just rip 2 at it. Like, my sights are on and just whack, 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 you know, like.
Whereas with USPSA, all really, those points count.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't translate, especially if you're shooting minor. Like, you're dropping points like crazy. Yeah. And so Josh even told me, he's like, just shoot what you see. Like, you know, and that's a huge thing. Like, being really honest with yourself, even in live fire to dry fire, is like a huge thing. You know, the more points that you're picking up, you know, and it's not slower per se. Like, it really isn't. Like, especially if it's where it's transitions and movements where you're going to get.
Yeah, Tim and I have talked about this a lot. It feels slower perceptually to focus hard on the sights and the alignment with the target, but if you train and like do hit factor scoring while you're training, looking at times and points, you'll see that it's generally not slower to have good confirmation of your sights, but you reap more points, and so
which results in a higher hit factor. You know, and that's what wins the game.
That's what wins the matches too. And even in 3-gun, like, if it's not really taking you that much more time, maybe you can get away with 1 alpha, which will save you time, or you're not going to have that close Charlie and a Mike because you were a little too loose. So,
because it's time plus. So if you throw a non-neutralized target out there, you're hurting yourself pretty good. You know, so it's the same thing in hit factor. It's just you gotta call your shots. It's just the window is like a little bigger that you can hit, you know,
a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
For the pistol and paper, I guess, and stuff, you know.
But then, like, you let the discipline grow just like that, and the same, like, effect of the errors can creep in too.
So. Well, there is a big argument too. I mean, like, look at some of the best USPSA shooters, like Nils. Like, he goes and shoots 3-gun. He's done like TAC ops, and he's even like, I don't know, I just kind of learned how to quad load a little bit, like, and he crushes it. Like,
yeah, it's a total misnomer about 3-gun that it's a shotgun loading competition. No, that's complete BS.
Well, it's just like single stack. Tim's kept up with people with high cap guns and single stack because, like, you should be doing it during movement anyway. So you're really not losing time. Like,
right.
If you're doing standing reloads, like, I mean, you shouldn't really be doing that anyway. So, like, it's really not, you know, as long as you can just effectively get rounds in the gun.
Just the risk of messing up an array when you don't have a shot to make up is higher.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, if you can execute, then it's not as big of a disadvantage as it might otherwise seem.
This is very true.
Great perspective. And so, you know, we've talked a little bit about isolated training, and even within a 1-gun sport like USPSA, just pistol or PCC, but let's not talk about PCC. You know, there's just an insane amount of skills you have to have. The ability to navigate a stage, plan a stage well, put shots on target at the appropriate pace for the appropriate target difficulty, all the various gun manipulation skills, and more beyond that. It's a lot. 3-gun multiplies that by like at least 3, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
So how do you even approach that?
I think, like, well, so I'm a big fan of like TAC ops and obviously heavy, start shooting heavy. I think I hate myself. It's probably why, but like, it's just punish myself. Yeah, but I really like it because it's 3 distinct platforms. Because when you get to open, it's pretty much like you're shooting 2-gun, and then you have a 3rd gun that's pretty much just like a rifle, it's just a bigger rifle.
Like an open shotgun is it takes a magazine just like a rifle and have a red dot on it. Yeah, it's basically a big rifle.
Now some of them are even like ARs now, which are awesome, by the way. They're great guns, but you know, that's why I'm like a big fan of like TAC ops 3-gun, because it's 3 distinct platforms, like 3 separate platforms. You gotta semi-master, if not master, all 3 of them, and they're totally different, and the targets you're shooting are different, and how you're going to shoot them. And you know, just like I think a lot of it in 3-gun focus training. I do some like 1-gun focus training. Like, hey, I need to get better at long range rifle. I'm gonna like focus on that, or I need to focus on shotgun and like maybe movement and how I'm doing that, or like how I'm engaging clay targets, or definitely know where your slugs hit. That's a huge thing in 3-gun. But you can do focus, but I think a lot of 3-gun training does need to be, the way I looked at it was a lot of, you have to shoot with 3 guns. You have to set up stuff where you're going to be switching guns, because that's a big part of it too.
Like, I've noticed, because when we started, I was mainly 3-gun, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a lot of, I guess you could call it integrated training.
Yeah.
Where you're setting up complete stages where you shoot all 3 guns.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think in USPSA, pistol shooting, for better or worse, it's more isolated kinds of training.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know what's right, but like, it's kind of, the analogy I think about a lot is when you compare those two sports, it's kind of like boxing versus USPSA, or boxing versus UFC.
Yeah.
Right? Like, pistol
Like
shooting USPSA would be like boxing. Like, those guys probably are better at fighting with their upper bodies,
striking,
delivering punches,
100%,
slipping punches, and all of that stuff. And they have to work on those specific things more, because they don't care about kicking or
getting taken down, or something.
Yeah. And so like they have to dial in and focus. Like, the demand of skill for shooting your pistol is very, very high. In 3-gun, you have a broader set of skills, and you really can't get away with having a huge gap in either one.
Yeah.
So you have to be good, if not great, at everything.
Yeah, pretty much. You can be like pretty decent at all of them, like, but I'd say it's more of a game of like miles, because you're looking at, like, as opposed to inches. Like USPSA stages, be a 10-second stage or something, or like, where foot placement, if I miss where I land on this target, or like how I'm doing it, is going to be a lot more crucial. Than you can make a lot of stuff up on, like, say if there's long range rifle, and you're a really good rifle shooter, you can make a ton of time. Like,
that's true.
There, that'll get you kind of back in the game.
Well, then you got to think about things too, right? So like with a pistol, like just in the practical shooting sports within one pistol, or within one division or one discipline, like pistols, you've also got like kind of disciplines within that, right? So you have like movement to focus on. Then you've got like visual skills and transitions to focus on, and speed and gun handling things to focus on, and then accuracy stuff to focus on. Now you got to multiply that times 3 times 3 different platforms. So it's like, okay, how do I move with the rifle? Because that's going to be a little bit different than how I move with the pistol. How am I moving with the shotgun? Well, that's going to be a little bit different than even moving with the rifle, because of the manipulation that you have to do, in between positions as well. So like it's just such a plethora of things to have to really focus on. And then it's multiplied times 3 when you're doing multi-gun stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. I look at it and say, I ain't got time for that. Like,
I love it.
I'm having a hell of a time mastering 1 gun, let alone trying to master 3. So
tell me.
So I'm like the opposite, where it's like when I shoot a pistol off, like shoot, and they're like, "What the hell? Where's the other 2 guns?" Like, what we could be shooting more, guys. Like,
well, I like, for new shooters, I tend nowadays to recommend, a pistol sport, because it's 1 gun, it's simple. There's just so much chaos with 3-gun. It's hard to
it's controlled chaos.
Yeah,
for
sure.
I think I do the same. Like, if someone's brand new and they're kind of like just getting into something, especially if they don't have the guns themselves, like all of them, and they're like, "Hey, can I get into 3-gun?" I always kind of push them towards pistol in the first place, because then you can, regardless, you're getting down, most of it. You're getting down how to shoot a stage. All the commands are the same. How to be safe with the gun, how to like execute a plan, how to move and shoot, how to, all the different skills, they will translate into 3-gun. But definitely start out, just get your foot into the competitive shooting, sports. If you're like, hey, I like shooting and I want to do something like this, just, it's just get your foot in it, like, everyone's super helpful.
There's no wrong way. Do what's interesting to you. Like, if you want to show up to your first 3-gun match with
that's what I did.
A Sega and a insane 45 pistol, dude, and some, all the wrong stuff that Ross had.
Wrong stuff,
that's
dude.
Fine. And then
I had a great time, like, you're gonna have fun,
Yeah, that's the main
I'm probably one of the few that just jumped into the deep end like that, I guess. Like, I pretty much started shooting 3-gun before I started shooting anything else. Like, it was like, it was controlled chaos, 100%. Especially as a new person, I was like, oh my god, like what do I do now? Like, oh, we'll put the gun down. Let's shoot this other gun. Like, all right, like I mean, it's a whatever path you want to take. I think it's fun. Like just go about it. Just get after it. Like,
yeah, if you're a deep end diver, go ahead, go do multi-gun.
Yeah,
but if you want to like kind of take a nibble before you take a whole
Yeah.
bite, maybe like a one gun sport is the easier way to jump into it.
oh yeah,
But anyway, yeah, you've jumped in. You've been at this for 5-6 years now, pretty
Mhm.
seriously, I would say. And this past year, you had like a really great season. Kind of like Tim is a pro on the circuit, winning major matches and stuff like that.
oh yeah.
You're kind of starting to do that through this last season. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about what this past year has kind of held for you? And
Well, I think shooting heavy started like
so what is heavy?
Heavy division is the biggest gun. So the main thing throughout 3 guns all outlaw. So it seems like the rule set's always kind of slightly different. Similar, it's the same, but it's slightly different per each match, which can be kind of confusing too. Like we're open and tac ops usually pretty consistent like across the board. But heavy is 308 rifle. Sometimes they'll have mag limitations and whether you can use supporting devices like bipods or bags. And it's usually one optic, like it can have like a side red dot or anything like that. They have some stipulations, but it's always, that's the main thing across the board is a 308 rifle. And then pistol. I mean, there's different matches across the country I had to pretty much to shoot all these different matches, had to have 3 separate pistols. So I wouldn't suggest like jumping right into like heavy division as like, as it's, if you're going to jump into the deep end, like, do what you can. But whereas like Superstition that's coming up is like, they let you shoot a 40 major pistol, which is a limited gun, like a limited major gun. And then Texas 3-gun, it was basically tac ops with a 308, so they allowed a 9mm as a pistol. And then
but the basic spirit of heavies
is
match to match, bigger guns, 308s, not 223s,
Yep.
45s or 40s, not 9s.
Yep.
Pump action 12 gauges, which is semi-autos, bigger, harder to shoot things, with some matches being a little bit softer.
Yeah, it's still softer, but it's, so I mean, multiple platforms of like, even, so I got to keep up on like, not even just the 3 guns. Now I'm like I said, I hate myself and I have to keep up on like 5 or 6 guns now, like, so, but it's definitely an adventure. I think where it started was, I was doing pretty good in tac ops, which is 9 limited gun with iron sights, semi-auto shotgun with no porting or anything, and it's iron sights, and then 223 rifle with a scope, and there's limited like capacities sometimes. You can't have supporting devices and no side mounted red dot. I was doing pretty good in that. I think I was getting some top 5 places, and like, I was pretty proud of that because that's where a lot of heat is too.
Yeah.
And then I think all of us like shooting on with Ergo, like my main sponsor is Ergo Grips, and Josh shoots with us, and we had like kind of throughout the team, all of us were shooting tac ops. We're like, we're competing against each other. Let's like be in different divisions. Like, it kind of came down like, I'm the biggest, fattest guy, so I should probably shoot heavy. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll be the heavy shooter. And so I was like, all right, I'll do it. Like, that sounds fun. Like, and it's switching something up too. Like, I was doing that for, quite some time. And I think it's good to switch something up sometimes. Like,
you learn something.
Yeah, you learn something.
Change divisions, gears.
Exactly. Like, so switching divisions, I think, especially like now with all the red dot divisions, like shooting a dot versus shooting irons, I think you should be able to shoot both. And you can learn a lot from shooting both of them. Tim will attest to that.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I pursued shooting a red dot pretty much all year last year, and then switched back to iron sights, after like 6-7 months just shooting a dot. So, and now I'm going to shoot iron sights for a few months this year and then kind of roll right back into a dot again. So yeah, it's neat to be well-versed in both.
But you learn something by switching from them, like
100%. Yeah,
you get better because like, I have something new to focus on, and it's like a new drive and like new.
It's fresh, right? it's fresh.
Exactly. So I loved it switching to heavy. I thought it was super fun. And I mean, it helped that I was pretty successful in it too. Like shooting heavy, like that doesn't hurt, like having fun.
Yeah, switching gear is an interesting thing because
super interesting.
Like in USPSA division context, like if you shoot carry optics, so you have a relatively light recoiling 9mm gun with a red dot. Well, if you go shoot limited, which is a 40 caliber major gun with iron sights, you're gonna learn something. Probably about grip and like.
Or go shoot a 45 single stack like Tim was doing, man. Like you will learn something. Like,
so and then step up to like a limited gun in 9mm where you're like, I've got all the BBs and it's a little bit lighter and my God, it doesn't recoil for nothing. This is great. Yeah. Then you after shooting that for a while, you go back to shooting a single stack 45 and you're like, holy shit, this thing is a hand cannon. What is going on?
Yeah. I do that throughout the whole year or two, like, because I'll shoot the 9mm, just practice, then I'll grab my 40. I'm like, oh man, this is recoil now. Like this thing, I
gotta hang on.
Am I holding on to this thing right? Like,
yeah. People learn to be lazy and like take advantage of whatever platform they're shooting or whatever they're doing in life, really. So when you change really something up, you like, oh, I'm deficient in this area. But like so many things, that's a double-edged sword too, because if you really want to get good, you kind of have to commit to one division too. I feel like
you do.
And so like switching around, like maybe early on, that's a good thing, or maybe in the off season to remind yourself of some lessons. But I feel like changing gear constantly is not a recipe for match success.
It's definitely not, because I can even attest to that. So we were just talking about the 2-gun match that I just shot. There are a few things that switching from a 308.
So actually put a little more context on that if you could. So we kind of skipped past, you've been shooting heavy. This last year you shot like 6 major heavy matches around the country or something like that, and won like 5 of them or something. I got second at one of them. Yeah. So you kicked ass at heavy in 3-gun. And then there's a new like kind of emerging practical shooting sport of 2-gun, which kind of gets rid of the shotgun, because
it's kind of right in between USPSA and 3-gun, which is kind of cool.
Most people have a perception that the shotgun isn't fun. When I personally think the shotgun is the most fun gun.
I think it's the most fun.
But anyway, for accessibility purposes, people have designed 2-gun as a sport, and the most popular flavor of that is called PCSL, Practical Shooting Competition League. And after SHOT Show, a big gun industry thing that you were just at in Las Vegas, there was a big 2-gun match. And so you went to that with all your 3-gun heavy experience, and I don't think the divisions quite matched up to your kinds of gear. It's kind of a different flavor of shooting because it's hit factor scoring like USPSA, not like pure time with penalty scoring like 3-gun. So how did that work out for you?
So I shot the only 2 PCSL matches I shot, and they were super fun, were the SHOT Show aftermath matches. And like I shot the other one last year, and I just said, well, I don't have stuff set up, so I just shot my heavy gear, which none of that even close to like went into a division, So like,
because the 2-gun divisions are like everybody can shoot 9mm,
and everyone can have an optic,
red dots on everything.
Yep.
And you didn't have any of that.
No, not even close. And then last year I feel like, I'm getting a little older. I was a little smarter. Like last year I was pretty much just hammered the whole time I shot. I was hurting, man. It did not go good. Like the match, like I was like, I don't even know why I shot this. Like, it was not good. I mean, it was fun. It's always fun, but like I was like, man, I have beat up. And then so this year I was a little smarter. I didn't get like hammered, but you're like tired after like walking all over SHOT Show.
He's learning.
Crazy. Like I'm learning. I'm teachable. So, but still, even like my guns didn't truly line up. It's like, so my rifle, and to be in the practical division, you'd have to have like, you can't have a low mass bolt carrier group, and you can't have a comp on it. And like, well, a TAC Ops gun that I had set up, that automatically puts me into the competition division, which is open. So, and then I don't have an open gun or any like a limited pistol. I don't have an open pistol, So it's like, well, I use my limited minor gun, and someone was nice enough to lend me a big stick, which was cool, like a 170 mil mag. So at least I have like all the BBs, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that I was shooting against everyone has a dot, and I have iron sights on my pistol, which they put out some harder shots there, and so like it's you got to be really honest with yourself with iron sights. I think it's a challenge. It's fun. And then another thing is I screwed up some of the classifiers. Like a lot of it, they had all the classifiers there, and so we had a big difference I noticed is loading my 308. Those mags just seat like butter. Like there's nothing to it, and so I just I set up my 223 maybe like the week before, and shot it some. And then went to this match, and then I would throw in a mag just like that, and I'd shoot and be like, hell yeah, that was smooth as hell. Reload, up on, and then it just fell out of the gun. Like, I'm like, oh shit. Go pick it up. Like, classic. That hurts. So there's, even just switching divisions, like if you don't have time on something, just switching that, what he's talking about, like match success is not going to be your friend.
Yep.
If you're just bouncing between things without like properly like assessing the stuff you have and actually putting it to the test.
There's like exploring time where you can play around with different gear, push limits, and then there's like execution,
like
training,
prepare for a match.
Yeah.
So
it's like I need to get as familiar as I can with this gear and how this gun works and how to eke maximum performance.
I noticed too, I'd be kind of overdriving my 223. I'd like push into it more, like as if I'm shooting a big gun. And kind of throw shots around like that too. Like I noticed that on the clock. So that's just not having the timing on the guns to like correct like what I'm shooting behind, But I think, I was pretty happy with where I ended up in that. Like I was pretty happy with performance wise.
So
based off all that.
Where did you end up?
I think it was 4th overall and like 3rd in competition against some of those dudes were like some of the best shooters in the country. So
yeah, there were like carry optics and limited optics, GMs and stuff like that. That you were
phenomenal
up there with shooting an iron sight pistol.
And Kyle Litzy, who's a good buddy. He's I think he just crushed everyone, but he's like one of the best.
That sounds right.
So, and it's a different game. Like, and it feels like 3-gun, but it also feels like USPSA because it's hit factor scoring. So. Which is kind of cool. And then they added like a K zone. If you've never heard of PCSL, it's a K zone. It's like a modified A in the head box, but it counts for 2 alpha, right? So you can just take headshots, and move on from targets, just like in a 3-gun, like 1 alpha, 1 alpha. It's a little smaller than an alpha, but it's very doable, especially on close targets. So that kind of adds like a little flavor to it.
A big risk factor. Like you can
risk versus reward.
You can save splits by shooting just the K zone instead of 2 shots at like the bigger part of the scoring zone of the target.
Exactly.
But if you miss, that's
throwing mics on there, yes, because it's hit factor. So
that's a really cool thing. Like Tim and I have talked on previous episodes about how like the ability to separate yourself on the match is what makes like a good stage or a good sport, I guess.
Yeah.
And like that is a good element of risk that's intrinsic to like this PCSL style with their
big time
target that has a K zone.
And it seems like all the field courts they set up there, and every time the 2 times I've shot them and the stuff I've seen online, like if you don't know about that sport, Max Grande, who's like the PCC god, right? Like the dude's like he's a phenomenal pistol shooter too. He's the guy that created that league, and like he sets up some, like you're talking about options, like, and the ability to like play on your strengths and stuff, and like, hey, maybe I could like risk versus reward, take this, and like play on my strengths. He sets up some really good stages like that, and it's kind of interesting. Like they do some box to box stuff, but it'll be rifle from back box stuff and like up to front, so you have to switch guns between. So it kind of like adds a different box to box flavor than like USPSA. Sometimes that can get kind of like lame. Like if you're like, oh, I'm just running from box to box and shooting, like, and it's just testing kind of one skill sort of thing. But it adds like a total different flavor, kind of like to all of it, because you're like, I can't just rip 2 on paper. I got to be accountable still, but I still got to fly with the rifle, and like it's its own realm.
It's cool to hear that you did so well with non-ideal gear in that sport.
And like shooting it twice, like I was pretty happy with it. Well, thank you,
But it's also exciting. I think our city range here in Albuquerque is considering doing PCSL matches.
That'd be sweet.
One of their 2 matches that they do a month. So instead of 2 USPSA, it'll be a USPSA and a PCSL. I think that'll be really fun to try out. Actually, Tim, I think, you've been very focused on pistol, but I understand that you are actually prepared for PCSL.
I've got a rifle now, so I just need to put some an optic and some sights on it.
78 single stack pistols and 1 rifle.
Is it a lever?
Is it a lever?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be stoked to be able to shoot some PCSL stuff with it. So
I think you'd have a great time.
It's an actual 5.56, but it's going to be fun to set it up and kind of dip a toe in the realm of shooting rifles and carbines. So
you should, and then you can come to the dockside and shoot a shotgun.
Oh, sweet Jesus! I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready for all that.
Oh, dude, it's so fun. It's like you love, like, you're a single stack dude. You love it. It's dynamic loading, man. Like,
right?
You got multiple different rounds you can jam in that gun and screw yourself over and candy cane it, or like go for glory.
If you think about it, a tube-fed shotgun is a single stack because there's a single stack of tubes that feed it.
Yeah.
So
it's like a long stack.
It's relevant.
It's right in family.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some more 2-gun around here.
Yeah, 2-gun will be fun. And it seems like we've shot around here. Like Del Norte's put on some 2-gun matches that were more like outlaw, more like 3-gun style 2-gun matches, and then or even just the carbine matches, like the black rifle matches, were super fun. It seems like there is like this fear and perception of a shotgun for some reason, or maybe people don't have it, or like just the ability to like modify a shotgun to be able to do that with it. But it seems to bring out a ton more people, which is cool. Like people that wouldn't maybe go just shoot a USPSA match. I think it's like more of a gamer thing, or like that are like kind of like that fall into like they like the tactical kind of shooting of stuff,
I've noticed that as well.
Brings those dudes out.
2-gun brings out tactical shooters.
It does. I don't know what it is about it, but I'm cool with it.
And like carbine only, like black rifle matches too, more than even pistol only matches, and certainly more than 3-gun matches. There's something about that appeals to like tactical people, which is great. I think
because the more people shooting the sports, like the like I said, the better shooters get around, and then the more people are like, damn, this is fun. Like I want to like branch off into this, or shit, maybe I should go shoot a USPSA match now. Like I didn't even think about that. I just saw 2-gun.
Well, actually, I think Tim, you train through your company, not only competition people, but you do like tactical kind of training as well too, to some extent. Right?
Like I mean, it's performance-based shooting, but yeah, I mean, I've gone from when I first started probably having 85 to 90% of my client base were practical shooter, USPSA, IDPA guys to now I'm probably splitting it 50-50 or even more like 60-40, 70-30 on the side, like overwhelmingly on the side of like defensive minded shooters that just want to get better with their with their carry guns and things like that, which is it's been good, and I love being able to even like those guys that come and take a class with me and they're like, yep, I have no background at all in USPSA. I've never shot IDPA or USPSA or any of the shooting sports, and after taking a class with me, like they kind of get that little injection in the arm where they're like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like I want to, and then they'll send me emails or text messages or call me and be like, yeah, I shot my first USPSA or my first IDPA match thanks to you, and kind of encouraging us from a class setting, and now they're hooked on the shooting sports, which is it's super cool. I mean, I think it goes a long way into improving your overall full skill set, not just a competition skill set, but like you get to test your mettle against everybody, like in a very like environment, which is cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think you don't have to be a gamer to want to do USPSA or PCSL or 3-gun. Like
I agree.
There's an art element to that, and at the end of the day, who wins? Well, it's the person who can execute and have on-demand performance.
Yep.
And having on-demand performance is like a skill, like a meta skill unto its own, besides all of the technical skills. And I've seen a lot of like practical or tactical shooters come to practical shooting matches like USPSA and not do very good on that front. And I think they'd benefit themselves to be able to learn how to, on demand, with one run, give a good performance. And I think it benefits them a lot to do that.
Especially under time pressure. Like that's a real thing. Like people know, if you've never done it, like putting yourself on a timer is, especially like in a match where you have a little bit of pressure on you, or especially a big match where you actually have pressure on you and you're like at everyone watching you, like that's a thing. Cause like
it is.
We always call that, what is the, for Men in Black, that's the neuralizer, dude. Like,
yep, right.
And then everyone is like, oh, it's bad. Time it just goes to shit. Like immediately, you know, like it's happened to me.
Getting two FTSAs.
Yeah, you're just like your mind just goes numb. You're like, what the hell is going on right now? You know, I promise you, more often than not, like while I'm shooting, I'm thinking like sometimes across my mind, like, what the hell am I doing right now? Like, you know, it happens, you know, but it's time pressure, you know, and you can do a lot of practice and training and like be proficient, but until you can like you said, on demand performance. Like that's truly it. It's pure proficiency with a firearm. You're testing your skills, you know. So like, I think tactical merit, even for like our cops or military and stuff, I think the best thing we could do is start doing this. I don't train. I know it says performance driven tactics, but it's performance driven in like competition tactics or whatever. Like our proficiency with a firearm. Like I'm not going to pretend to teach you like SWAT tactics or like military tactics, but I can teach you how to be really proficient with a firearm. And that takes a lot more development, I think, and all the other stuff will line up with it. If you can effectively put rounds down range on target for just transition, like you're going to be better regardless of what you're doing with the handgun is my philosophy. So
100%.
And I've noticed sometimes weird ways of evaluating performance in the tactical communities. Like there's all sorts of standards, like the T-Rex arm standards, all the other people that have like their standards, and people will like shoot those things over and over and over again until they make the standard. And then they're like, I did it. I got the 7-7 thing or whatever the standard is. And maybe you get a pin from a trainer or you can just brag about it. But like, if it took you 100 times to do that, that's really not your level of performance. Your level of performance is not the max of all your different attempt instances. It's the average of them.
Or in what you can do on demand even.
And so even like the USPSA classification system, a major match that has 10 to 20 plus stages, like it's the average of your performance. It's on demand, how often you can deliver at a high level that actually matters. And so I think that's something that like competition style shooting can bring to like more tactically minded people. It's like, it's not like what you do once in a blue moon. It's what you can do every time that really counts.
Well, I suck at that. Tim's laughed at me at classifiers plenty of times. So.
Because you
standard G classifiers are not my friend for some reason. I don't know. I know why it is, but like I was just laughing. Like, what's wrong with me? I'm not sandbagging. I swear to God.
Yeah, classifiers are a different thing.
It's a demand performance.
Or
man.
they're really not, but people view them as a different thing. So.
That's probably my problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
put too much pressure on yourself.
it's pretty funny though. But yeah, man, I think like just get into the shooting sports,
So PDT, performance driven tactics. That's your.
Yeah, I want to say thank you guys for the shout out. In your other episode when you're over there.
Of course.
Of course. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for being on our show.
Be happy to anytime.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we're running along, but yeah, people, if you want to get good at shooting in general, especially multi-gun, Ross and performance-driven tactics, Haas_Haney on Instagram. You can look that up. Yeah, everybody should know Tim by this point if you've been following the podcast. TimHerron.com.
TimHerronShooting.com. Yep.
TimHerronShooting.com. Tim Herron on Instagram. So yeah, those people can help you get good, and it's not just a grind; it's a lot of fun along the way, right?
Oh yeah, that's the plan. I mean, we wouldn't do this if it wasn't fun.
Exactly.
I've tortured myself at it.
Yeah.
I've moved beyond that phase, and now I'm having a lot of fun.
You shoot a lot better when you're having fun too.
That's the truth.
That is very true.
That is the truth.
So
Well,
cool. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks. And listeners, all our watchers across YouTube, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing everybody again soon.
All right. And Ross, I don't think you swore once, so I'm amazed.
Well, fuck you.
I'm amazed.
See? Yeah.